Hi guys, it's Emil, and this week we're talking about safe spaces for trans and LGBT plus youth. So I want to talk about something that has been a safe space for me when it came to being allowed to question my gender identity and play around with my expression. But first I just want to talk quickly about why I think safe spaces are very, very important for LGBT plus and trans youth. When you are questioning your gender, especially if you are living in a family where that is not accepted or not encouraged, or you just don't feel like you can talk to anyone in your family about it or anyone in your immediate surroundings, you might feel very alone and you might feel like it's very much up to you and you have no one to have a dialogue with when it comes to these things. And when you're questioning, you usually want to play around a little bit with your expression, be it through clothing or through trying out a new name or a new set of pronouns, or anything like that. That can be hard to do in a space that is not explicitly trans or LGBT plus safe. So it can be very hard to do those things in school, for example, or at work, or wherever it is, but it might be very important when it comes to finding what you prefer and who you are. It's very important to be allowed to experiment and to be allowed to try to find who you are, because it's a crucial time in your life when you're young, when you're trying to find identity. And whether or not it turns out that you are trans or not, or whether or not it turns out, whatever it is that you're questioning, it's important that you get to go through that, because when you're young, you're trying to find an identity, and so it's very important to have a safe space to be able to find your identity without having to fear for your safety or even for your life. So that's why I think safe spaces are really important. So something that has been a safe space for me and still is conventions. And when I say conventions, I mean like pop culture cosplay conventions. And it's the ones in Sweden that I'm mainly talking about, because those are the ones that I started going to and that I've been to the most. And from what I've personally seen, the convention culture is different in at least in Sweden compared to, for example, England. I've been to Comic-Con in London and to conventions in America. I guess it also depends on the size of the convention and what it's specifically geared towards, but conventions, like cosplay conventions in Sweden, are very like community based, and from what I've seen, the focus is not primarily on buying things or meeting celebrities. That's a part of it, but it's also getting to be part of a community, meeting friends, meeting new people, cosplaying, or taking pictures of cosplays or competing in cosplay competitions and stuff like that. So I started going to conventions in 2012. That's when I went to my first convention. I didn't cosplay, but I went, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how accepting the environment was to people who were different. And so many people there are LGBT plus or trans. It's not just young people, but it's primarily young people, and it's a great environment for young people to get to express themselves, and it's sort of like a safe haven, even though it's not 100% like it's not heaven, but it's a good place, and it is a nice getaway from everyday life. I actually made a sort of mini documentary last year on my personal channel about LGBT plus people and pop culture conventions, where I interviewed a few people about their identities and how they feel they are treated at conventions and in the cosplay and convention community. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description. So I started going to conventions in 2012, as I said, and 2013 was my first year cosplaying. And I've talked about this before sort of briefly, but cosplay was something that really made me start to question my gender identity, because I realized that I was much more comfortable cosplaying male characters than female ones, and it allowed me to express a side of me, a more masculine side of me, in a way that I didn't really do in everyday life. Not that I couldn't have done that, but it didn't seem relevant for me then because I was trying so hard to fit into a female role. But when I was, dressed up as a character who was very masculine, I was trying to be in character and I was trying to embody that, and I realized slowly but surely that I was much more comfortable with that. And that when I could make that masculinity my own and not that character's, if that makes any sense at all to say, that's when I sort of realized that this is who I am. And I don't know if I would have realized that if it hadn't been for cosplay, honestly. Conventions have been a huge safe space for me, even though they are something that tend to, bring up my anxiety because there's a lot of people, a lot of things going on. It has largely been a very positive experience for me because I see all these kids and they get to have fun, dress up as their favorite characters, and that's fun in and of itself, but they get to be in an environment where they can dress the way that they want to, even if they're not cosplaying, and they can be accepted, and that is great. And so it's a great way to get to be in public and to get to introduce yourself with the name and pronouns that you want in the with the clothes that you want, without feeling like everyone's looking at you because you're the only one standing out, because you're not going to be the only one standing out. That's not to say that there aren't issues within the Swedish cosplaying convention community, because there are, but it is a community with a lot of potential, and that I very much want to be part in, and that I very much want to see the development of. And it's definitely a place where I can go and I would feel 100% safe in a convention in Sweden saying that I'm trans, or post-op taking off my shirt, having people see my scars. I would not have a single doubt in my mind that would be safe for me to do, because I would know that even if there was some douchebag there would be more people that support me, because there would be more people like me there. And it is awesome to have a space like that, and to know that several times a year, if I could just save up the money and find the time, I can go there and I can see my friends and I can meet new friends kind of easily, and I can be accepted for exactly who I am. I can feel just within myself how important that is, even if it's just for a couple of days a year, to know that there is a time and a space in my life in which I can be exactly who I want to be, and look exactly how I want to look, and dress exactly how I want to dress. That is very, very important, when in a lot of other spaces in life I can feel sort of unsafe being a trans person, doing anything else. Like, I can imagine a kid going to some sort of summer camp for a week or two, and if that summer camp is not explicitly trans or LGBT plus friendly, then I can imagine this trans kid being really anxious about going there, because you're going there and you're going to be there for a while, and you don't know if people are going to accept you or not. You don't know if people are going to respect you or not, or bully you or not, or be mean to you or not. And you don't know if the people in charge of the place are going to understand and support you if you ask for their help, and understand how important it is that people use the correct pronouns for you, for example. So it is really important that there are safe spaces available for trans and LGBT plus youth that aren't sexualized, or that don't involve a lot of alcohol, because we need spaces for people who are minors as well. And yeah, so I think the Swedish cosplay and convention community is a really good example of a safe space. It's not just a refuge from the rest of the world where you can just forget about all of your responsibilities and worries. No, it is a place where you can go and you can relax, and you can know that you're not in any immediate danger, because there are people around you who support you, and that you can have a dialogue with, and that you can ask questions to, and who will have similar experiences to you, and where you can make new friends, and where you won't have to constantly have to defend yourself for just being who you are. And that is why safe spaces are so important, especially for kids who are trying to find an identity and trying to find themselves, and who are trying to feel like they have a place in this world and are valued and important. And a lot of these kids are suffering from depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues because they are being so ostracized by the rest of society. And it is so important that they have something that they can hold on to, like an anchor in this world that makes them feel like they are important and valued and loved, and that they can feel safe, and that there is, a place in this world where they can be themselves. This is a very important thing to talk about, very important topic, very important dialogue to have about, safe spaces and stuff, so by all means keep talking about this. And as Triton talked about in his video, there's this ongoing project, the Safe Space Project, so use that hashtag, talk about this. What do you think is important in a safe space? What safe space would you like? And what safe spaces have you been to or have experienced? Love you. Bye.